Alright, in this video you see the great actor Denzel Washington acting a role. Here he talks about what the role of a woman in nation building is and how they are their role is so critical. Now, before you listen to it, I want to just say a few things, or maybe no, hold on. Let me let you listen to it. Then when you're done, I'll come back and then give you my thoughts.
See, the building of a new nation begins with the woman, because the mother is the first teacher of the child. The message that she gives that child, the child gives to the world. So we have to be very careful.
Right, you heard him. But here's what I would like us to take away from this, if you will. The first thing I want to point out is he's noted the fact that the woman's role in nation building is the most critical. They are the ones that lay the foundation. They are the first teachers of the children in society. But I sense in this madness of feminism that has taken over most of the Western world and those parts of the world that they've managed to influence with their negativity. I sense that those who are partial to the feminist philosophy, you see, feminism is not bad in itself. It's the manner in which it's been taken to the extreme that's the problem. So the extreme feminism philosophy, those who are partial to it will have a problem with some aspects of this message. So what I'm offering to do here is just to help to add some perspective that will help them to at least try and take some, not to throw the baby out of the water, if at all they feel they need to throw anything out. Now, the first thing is this: every woman who aspires to live a life of fruition, who wants at some point to build a home, to have a family, and with that will involve, to a great extent, in many cases, many women will be able to aspire to and actually achieve motherhood. So they'll have kids. It is hoped that when they have kids, they will have both male and female kids. Now, so let's assume the ideal. Every woman will have male and female kids. Then what happens? What do you teach your male and female kids? The first thing that modern women today need to understand is you cannot do it all, but you can lay a foundation for children of both gender, but you will not be able to do everything for each gender equally. The problem is that many women of today, because of this madness, this widespread acceptance of single parenting, in which mothers are the single parents, we have a situation in which mothers are trying to claim that they can play the role of fathers. It's completely impossible, not just biologically, but even in terms of emotional and psychological development you're going to give the child. But let me get back to the point. So what I'm saying is this: so the mothers, when they want to play their role, there's a foundation they can lay. It's the kind of things they teach the kids at in those formative years. You see, it's in the later years, in the teen years and after, that you begin to help the child to fully evolve into manhood or womanhood. But in the early stages, there's a kind of generic foundation you need to give children. Now, the woman is the one that tends to be in the best position to do this, not just because they are the ones that are the homemakers traditionally, but also because biologically, children are more attached to their mothers. I speaking to you, the truth of the matter is that I feel more connected, especially as a male child, to my mother than I do to my father. Probably if I had had more of a conversational growing up phase in my life with my father, I would have been more at ease generally with my father. But the truth of the matter is I'm more conversationally at ease with my mother, and therefore more emotionally connected to her than I am to my dad. This is just the truth. There's no need to try and paint anything. Now, some men are able to connect with their fathers at much better level because the father was able to help the child to cross that psychological barrier that tends to be between the two males. Okay, what's her name? Talked about it a bit. Jane Felix Ogbonna talked about it, that men don't talk to men. The fathers don't talk to the sons about their relationships with the women, and it tends to affect the sons when the sons become men in their own homes. So this is one of the problems. But now what I'm saying is that the mothers themselves can encourage the sons to talk and get close to the father. In other words, they can encourage the sons to seek out a father figure in their lives and connect with the father figure. So that's the kind of foundation you want to lay. It's not like you're going to teach the male child how to be a man. You cannot as a woman. Women cannot teach boys how to be men. Just like men cannot teach girls how to be women, we can give them some basics, all right? But we cannot help the woman, the girl, to know how to be a woman. Only a woman can do that successfully. You can try, but you just can't do it the way a woman would, especially a woman that is not misguided. So the thing is, women need to understand that they owe society a duty to do their jobs right. Now, it's the kind of ideas you pour into the mind of your male child, who is a boy, of course. It's the kind of ideas you pour into him that will determine the kind of man he decides to grow up into, especially when he doesn't have a male father figure in the home or a male role model outside the home or wherever to relate to. Now, at the risk of stating the obvious, it isn't only the male children that the mother has to, that I'm asking the mothers to watch the way they communicate with them. The mother, has, like I said before, is the one that's the first teacher for the children. So male or female, doesn't matter. However, just like the way she communicates with the male child, and also the way she behaves to the male child's father in the presence of the child, or how she helps the male child, to find a male role model or father figure outside the home if there's no one in the home. The same thing has to be said for how she relates to the female child. All right. So many times you will see that
Position is that the black woman's disrespect and rebellion against the leadership and the authority of the black man is a direct cause of the breakdown in our black family structure. Now, of course, there are many black people who consider those fighting words, because as black women, we have never been subject to the kind of examination that our men have been subject to since we have been here. We have been somewhat protected and shielded from any kind of critiquing about our personal behavior, whereas our men have always been up for examination. The book is not an attack on black women. I have never said that all black women do everything that I list in my book. None of us have lived long enough to do everything that I list in the book, but most of us do some of the things that I've listed in my book. And I do say that it is not because of generalizations that we are all victimized by some of the negative patterns of behavior in the book, but the book just represents our collective contribution. This is some of everything that we have done, or that we do daily, that contributes to the breakup of our relationship, the destruction of our man, and the failure of our children to be able to function. They did not tell us that all of that, being my own person and I'm independent, would lead to separation, loneliness, celibacy, and lesbianism. They didn't tell us that if you give up the man, you're going to take one of these things and it's worse and it will destroy your nation. They didn't give us that information. They made us think that it was some kind of glorified position to brag about the fact that I got my own job, my own credit card, my own car, so I don't need no man. I don't even know how we got that mixed up. Ain't none of that got nothing to do with being with no man. We have some serious relationship problems that nobody has been able to address us on, because everybody wants to pretend that this is not going on. Over 60% of our women are single, widowed, separated, or divorced. They don't have a man. I just came out of Florida, and they got a housing complex that the Urban League built, which is a black organization that is for women and children only. They say they don't allow any men in there. I didn't have time to deal with it, but I talked about them real bad. That's the silliest program I've ever heard of. You know them women that had men if they got a bunch of children. They need fathers. They need protection.
So whatever biases are influencing the behavior of an adult female who has children, those biases are likely to be transferred directly or indirectly to the children, and depending on whether the child is male or female, they would manifest it in the way they behave. Ultimately, like the video says, it's the woman that lays the foundation in the lives of the young children that are going to grow up as adults in society, and therefore in nation building, the role they play in the communication, the things they put into the children, is so critical, whether for the male child or the female child. Now, if you want to build a society and you allow misguided females to be the ones influencing the thinking, okay, of the young people, of the children that are growing up in the society, what's going to happen is that they are going to come into larger society with aberrant behaviors, with warped ideologies. And that's what we're having today. We see a lot of young men who are confused, for instance, about their sexuality. Some silly people are telling us there are some people who were physically and biologically male, but they feel feminine on the inside, and so they want to do gender change. And what's happening? We've seen all those people, many of them who went that route, now turning around saying they were misled, they realized that they were wrong, blah blah blah, but their lives are already ruined. Some of them have gone actually into surgery and done changes to their gender, to their organs. Now, it's only because the foundation was weak. There's a man on the internet, I keep forgetting his name, Mendon Uzan, so he keeps posting some memes that I love so much. African manhood will not be feminized. And I think it's important for all of us to internalize that. We must understand that as mothers, all right, as mothers, you still have a stake in developing manhood. You see, it is not in your interest to attack masculinity and emasculate men because you want to feel that you are liberated and you are independent. It is not to your advantage to do that, because when you do it, it automatically translates to a direct attack on your own loved ones who are of the male gender. Now, if you produce weaklings as men, then they cannot be respected as men. And then the women who are in the society, who are like you, will then treat those male loved ones you have with disrespect, because they cannot command respect. Once a man is not acting in his natural element as an alpha male, if he's a beta male, what we call the feminine men, I call them the weaklings in men's pants. The ones that are the simps. What is a simp? A simp is a person that is always putting the needs of the female partner ahead of his own. Not sometimes, always trying to defer to the female, always trying to get the sympathy of the female, always trying to be on the side of the female, even when it is wrong, clearly, glaringly wrong to be on the side of the woman. Even when she's at fault, he still wants to find a way to justify her because he wants to get to be on her good side. And in the process, she still earns her contempt anyway. Women do not like nice guys. Haven't you heard that saying? It's the truth. It's the man that's able to assert his manhood that commands the respect of a real woman. No woman wants a weak man. No woman wants to stand with a man that cannot stand as a man. You see, that's the thing. So it is the duty of the women primarily to help both genders grow up and manifest their full potential. And how they do this will be the kinds of things they teach the children that are under them or in their care. The problem we're having today, like I said, is unfortunately many women think that playing that role is beneath them. They think that their own grandmothers and great grandmothers and mothers who did it were like slaves in the home, so they feel that it is they need to go out and just be exactly like men. It is impossible biologically for you to function like a man in society. Kevin Samuels says something all the time when he's talking to some of these extreme feminist women. He tells them, stop this rubbish, because we built this civilization you're in, and if we stepped out of civilization for you for 1 month, you wouldn't be able to last. And this is the truth. Now, it doesn't mean that we're superior to you. It just means that our roles by nature have been defined, and it is left for each gender to stay within their roles. And of course, there are places where the lines are blurred, all right, where there's a kind of crossover. You have some women who are in some ways, not all, in some ways able to function as men, and some men who are able to play some feminine roles. But that's just, like in life, there's always exceptions. But generally, there are roles that are defined to us biologically. And you find that over the years, the societies in which male and female personalities have stuck within their traditional and naturally assigned roles are the societies that are flourishing. The ones that are trying to turn the natural order on its head are the ones that are having problems, e.g., United States of America. In fact, generally the Western world, but especially America, where they've taken it to the extreme in so many ways. They put ridiculous amounts of power in the hands of women in the household, literally making the woman the head of the home, even when it does not make sense. I'll give you a good example. There's a video on YouTube. Please go to YouTube and type in the search bar. Type extreme brat camp. Extreme brat, as in brat, bad, naughty child. Brat camp. And you'll see there's a BBC documentary. I think it's about 1 hour long, if not longer, of the pandemic. That's what it is. It's a pandemic in America today, in which um, a lot of juvenile delinquency just all over the place now in America. And when you check then what is happening is that those parents that are faced with that delinquency from the children, from the youths, the children in their homes, are then at a point, because most of them are single parents and most of them are single mothers. In fact, all the ones I saw were either single mothers, right, or a few that were actually couples, but in which the woman was the one in the front speaking. The man was usually in the silence or even ignored by the journalist interviewing them. Very, very telling. Just the video, just the way the journalist chose to focus on the woman and let her say what the problem in the home was and what they were trying to do about it, how they could not do anything, and therefore felt the need to bring those children that were giving them problems in the home, bring the children straight into the so-called extreme brat camp. Okay, and it was so sad to listen to those women talk about how it, for instance, there was one 10-year-old. She was saying that I would rather bring the child here than to let a 10-year-old run my home. Now the paradox, or I could even call it, if there's a word, if there's a phrase like that, paradoxical irony, is that the women were bringing their kids, both of different races, mostly blacks and white. They were bringing these kids that were giving them problems in the home. They were bringing them to men who were running a brat scam, a kind of a correctional facility. That's what I put it. It wasn't prison. It was a kind of a temporary correctional facility for young people. I think up to the age of, I think, early 20s or so. But as low as 10. There was a guy who was even the star of the particular documentary I watched that was just 10 years old, and he was the most difficult and was the one that was unrepentant even by the time the program ended 3 months later. In fact, the men who were running the program had to comment specially on him that it was going to be a difficult case. And the point I'm making is this: the you see, in America, the man has been so buffoonized and so emasculated by the system. The entire American system is designed to emasculate manhood and deny literally every home access to a male role model of father figure, for the most part, especially in the black communities. So there are so many incentives given to the young women as they have children to make them do away with the presence of. In fact, it is required that they not have a man in the home they are living in order to get all those social welfare benefits. So that is an incentivizing the bad behavior, like Candace Owens said, of father's absence in the home. So what has happened is that those women are going for that carrot that's been dangled at them, that they begin to embrace having benefits from the government financially to take care of themselves and take care of children they have, by making sure they keep the man out of the home. And as a result, they deny the children badly needed fatherhood. Now, where does the father come in? When you talk of instilling discipline and bringing structure into the lives of children, the father is the one. He's the one that can bring that firmness, bring the discipline, bring the awareness of the need to respect law and order. The woman is the soft one. So there's a balancing act that normally happens in the traditional home. The father is the one that's the disciplinarian or the strict person, or the person that's setting the rules and laying the guidelines, and the mother is the one that's providing this soft um, shock absorber to lean on and all that. But now, when you remove that element of discipline from the home, what happens? The mother now has to play that role, and she's not naturally gifted at it. Then there's a problem, and that's why you have all the children, they go out of control. Then the same men who the society in America has vilified and buffoonized and emasculated now decide to go and form a kind of reformational facility, a correctional facility, and it's all over. The thing is springing up all over the place, and they're charging tens of thousands of dollars. People are bringing their kids to those places where the men are fully in charge of instilling discipline in those same children. Isn't that a paradoxical irony? There's a phrase like that. I think it just sounds so right. It's such a joke. So the thing is, you are trying to tell us the men are not needed, but ultimately the men are the ones that you are now running to for the solutions. The same women, I don't need a man, I don't need a man, I can have my children. When the children now go out of control, it's either they let the children go and the children become a menace in society or a nuisance society, or you decide to take them to a correctional facility run by men. Ultimately, what you're therefore admitting is the men can do it better. Now, If you look at the clip again, the 30-second clip of Malcolm X, you will see that um, it's the same thing that's been said. We are looking at a situation in which women need to be told this truth that is being said in this recording, and many of them do not understand that that truth is really meant for them. Some of them are still rejecting it, but we are trying to tell you, women, please listen. Nobody is denying you freedom. Nobody is denying you liberty. But please play your roles. Because if you don't play your roles, you are the one that the children trust the most in those early stages of their lives. It takes children who have experienced the world and gone out in society to begin to appreciate the role of the father. That comes later, because they begin to understand why he was not as soft as the mother, not so understanding, not so compassionate. He tends to be more firm and insistent, and so it looks like, he hates me, he hates me. But later the child begins to appreciate the role that the father had to play. It was a necessary role. If you don't help children to grow up appreciating that, and to grow up being willing to accept the guidance from the father figure, what is going to happen is what we see today, where there's a lot of reckless behavior from young people that are coming out society. It's because women are having more and more access to liberty to decide what they want, and they are choosing to completely distance themselves from their traditional biological roles, from their natural roles, and it's costing society a lot. But women are still turning around and pointing fingers again at other people when they are not playing their role. It's time for us to get real. It's time for us to go back and play our roles properly, because it is a duty we have given to us by the Creator. It's also a duty you have to your children. I hope you do it.